The Asclepius is an account of a prophetic dialogue between Hermes Trismegistus, legendary master of the Hermetic doctrine, and Asclepius, one of the characters who populate the Hermetic myth with Horus, Isis, and Ammon. The Third Book of Asclepius contains the Hermetic Prophecy, an exposition on the nature of God, cosmology, time, cycles of life, the nature of the world and man, etc. A broad spectrum of philosophical perceptions is expressed through the fate of Egypt. The following is an excerpt from the Asclepius passage containing the prophecy. Trismegistus, do you not know, Asclepius, that Egypt is an image of heaven, or more accurately is where all the operations of the powers that rule and operate in heaven have been transferred to earth? Indeed, it would be more correct to say that the entire cosmos dwells in this land of ours, as in its sanctuary. And yet, since it is proper for wise men to know events before they happen, it is necessary not to remain in ignorance of what I am about to say. A day will come when all honor rendered to the gods by the Egyptians with constancy and sincere piety will be in vain, and all our holy worship will be weak and ineffective. Thus the gods will return from earth to heaven. Egypt will be abandoned, and the land that was once the seat of religion will remain desolate, deprived of the presence of its gods. This land will be filled with foreigners. Not only will men neglect the service of the gods, but Egypt will be occupied by Scythians or Indians or other barbarian peoples around it. On that day our holiest land, this land of shrines and temples, will be filled with funerals and corpses. To you, most holy Nile, I cry that you will swell with torrents of blood, rise to the level of your banks, and your holy waves will not only be filthy, but absolutely scarlet with blood. Do you weep for all this, Asclepius? But the worst is yet to come. Egypt will still suffer. It will fall into a far more pitiable situation, and will be infected with even greater plagues. And this land, which was once holy, a land that loved the gods, and on which, as a reward for its devotion, the gods deigned to sojourn, a land that was the teacher of mankind in holiness and piety, this land will go beyond all cruel deeds. The dead will far outnumber the living, and the survivors will be Egyptians only in that they speak this language, but in their deeds they will be men of another race. O Egypt, Egypt, of your religion there will remain but an empty tale to which your children in the time to come will not believe. Nothing will remain, and only the stones will bear witness to your mercy. And in that day men will be weary of life, and they will cease to think of the universe with awe and reverence. And so religion, the greatest of all blessings, because there is nothing, never was, nor ever will be anything more useful, will be threatened with destruction. Men will regard it as a burden, and will despise it. They will no longer know how to love the world around us, God's incomparable work, a glorious structure He has built, this summa of things of many different forms, this instrument by which God works that His will may be done, and generously favoring the welfare of man. Eyes will be turned to the accumulation of all things that can arouse the veneration, praise and love of the beholder. Darkness will be preferred to light, and death will be deemed more profitable than life. No one will be able to lift his eyes to heaven. The pious will be regarded as foolish, and the wise as ungodly. The foolish will be judged as brave, and the wicked will be esteemed as good. As for the soul and the belief that it is by its nature immortal, or can hope to attain immortality, as I have taught you, it will be mocked, and men will convince themselves that this is false. No word of reverence or piety, no expression worthy of heaven and the gods of heaven, will be heard or believed. And so the gods will leave mankind, a grave thing. And only evil angels will remain and mingle with men, and by force induce the poor wretches to commit all sorts of thoughtless crimes, war, and robbery, and fraud, and all other things hostile to the nature of the soul. Then the earth underfoot will no longer be stable, and the sea will no longer want ships, the sky will no longer support the stars in their orbits, nor will the stars follow their steady course in the sky. All the voices of the gods will fall silent, the fruits of the earth will decay, the soil will become barren, and the air will be stagnant and unhealthy. And on the world will fall old age. Religion will no longer exist, everything will be disordered and twisted, good will fade away. But after all this has happened, Asclepius, the master and father, God, creator of that God who first came into being, will come upon the event and will be displeased to see how his will, which is good, has been disregarded. He will call back to the right path those who have gone astray. He will cleanse the world of evil, wash it away with floods, purify it with fierce fire and the outbreak of wars and plagues. And so he will bring the world back to its primeval appearance, so that the cosmos will once again be regarded as a place to worship God. And on that day the creator and restorer of the mighty fabric will be worshipped by men with unceasing hymns of praise and blessing. Such is the new birth of the cosmos, renewal of good things, holy restoration of all nature that is repeated throughout time by the eternal will of God. For God will not be a beginning, for him there is no beginning and no end. That is why God's original intent is to pursue the good. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications.